What's up guys? Today we have a 2019 F550 cabin chassis 6.7 Powerstroke, and I'm going to be showing you how to fully delete it. This is the kit we're going to be using, and it comes from a company called the Diesel Dudes. I will put a link down in the description if you want to check it out. When you order this kit and the Diesel Dudes sends you a form to fill out, you'll just have to specify that you have a cabin chassis. I've used their kits personally on multiple trucks, and I have nothing but good things to say about them. The kit comes with this EasyLink auto agent to program the truck. You can also read and clear codes and do a couple other cool functions with it. Monitor live data on your phone. Comes with an EGR delete. And then this is a box with exhaust pipes in it just to replace the DPF that we're taking out of the truck. Quick disclaimer though, if this is illegal where you live, I don't recommend you do it. So make sure you look up your local laws first and stay in accordance with them. They also sell these plug kits, and what these do is basically everything you unplug, you can cap off with a dummy connector, and it just keeps all the water and corrosion out. So that's a super good addition if you think you're ever gonna put your emissions back on your truck at some point. Then all you do is unplug the dummy plugs and plug your emissions back in, and everything should work just as it did before. So the first thing we always do before we remove anything is we program the truck first. So we're gonna throw a battery charger on the batteries. 5, 10, 15 amps, somewhere around there is perfect. You're gonna grab your EasyLink auto agent and you're gonna plug it into the OBD connector just like that. You're then gonna download the EasyLink auto agent app on your phone, and you're gonna create an account, and then you're gonna connect to the EasyLink auto agent through Wi-Fi. The EasyLink will have its own Wi-Fi that says EasyLink and then a number or something like that. Once you have it connected, you're gonna go into the EasyLink app, and I'm just gonna screen record the process, and then I'll do a voiceover to tell you what to do. Also, you're gonna have to turn the truck to the run position. And when you're doing this, it's a good idea just to turn off your climate, turn off your radio. Don't use any more power than you have to. Okay, so first thing you wanna go to your settings and just connect to the EasyLink Wi-Fi. Then you're gonna open up the app, make sure the truck is in run. Just hit retry if that pops up. It's gonna say the vehicle is set up to link. You're gonna just click link, and then just hit continue on the top right. If you got different size tires, here's where you can put it in. Then tap next. And here, it doesn't really matter what you put in here. I'm just putting emissions removed. Hit done. And now you are connected. So you're gonna hit the menu in the top left, and then we're gonna go down to vehicle. Once you're in vehicle, you're gonna see ECU profiles. That's what we're gonna click on. And then we're gonna go to custom tunes. And then you see single, shift on the fly, and TCM. We're just going to hit single. And then those are all the tunes you can pick from. With this being a work truck, I'm just going to pick a 50 horse tune. I don't want to go any more than that. And that shows you all the abbreviations that you might see in the title of other tunes, just to give you an idea of what they mean. And then when you're ready, just go to the top right, hit that little cloud button. It's going to download, and now you can install the tune onto the truck. So click install. You're going to hit proceed. And then it's going to do its thing here. Turn the ignition off, hit continue. Turn ignition on, hit continue. And now you're just going to let it program the truck. It usually takes a minute or so until you start seeing that percentage go up for the installation progress. All right, fast forward, and we are at 99%. Once it's done, it's going to go here. It's going to tell you turn the ignition off, and then hit continue. Then turn it back to run or on, hit continue. And it says, let's go. It was completed successfully. So if you want, you can go back and you can actually go down into TCM tunes. That's for your transmission. And in here, there's different tunes, different shift points, different line pressures, that kind of stuff. So you can mess around with those if you want. On this truck, I opted to just not tune the transmission because the gearing is so low and I wanted to keep it as close to stock as possible. But if you go back here, I'm just going to go back through the menu, kind of get back to that main menu. You'll see here we can go to functions. And this kind of shows you a couple things that you can do with this EasyLink auto agent. So if we hit back, we can actually click that top left menu again. You can select DTC, and that's how you can read and clear codes. So if you hit back, you can actually go to dashboard, and that's where you can see your temps. You can go to gauges. You can also go to graphs. So a lot of cool stuff you can do with this EasyLink auto agent. All right, so the ECM is tuned. I hope that all made sense to you. Also, if they send you the switch for shift on the fly tunes, you can do that. Personally though, on a cabin chassis truck, it's probably a work truck, and I don't recommend installing a switch to give it 200 horsepower. I just think that's irresponsible. If you did get the switch and you did want to install it, this is what it looks like. And basically what it does is it ties in to this fuel temperature sensor right there. So if you look at the picture right here, it's the green wire and then the green and white wire. You strip them back a little bit, and then you use these connectors to splice into them, and you leave that fuel temp sensor unplugged afterwards. It doesn't matter which wire you splice into which wire, but if you want to install a switch, that's how you do it. So you'd splice it into there, and then you would run the wires into the cab. You'd zip tie it up all nice and neat out of the way. Then this side of the switch, you would find a place, maybe up here or something, to drill a 3/8 hole, and then you can mount this switch in, and that's how you would switch the tunes. But you would have to install one of those soft files, or SOTF files, and then the switch will work. If you do install a shift on the fly file and you don't have the shift plugged in, it will just default to the lowest power setting. But like I said, this truck, just a single tune is fine. So the ECM is programmed. We're just gonna make sure it starts. I got my battery charger removed, and yeah, should fire right up. Beautiful. Now what I like to do, just to confirm the tune worked fine and we don't have any problems before we remove any emissions, is unplug a few sensors. So I'm gonna unplug this EGR valve like so. There's also this little connector there. Unplug that guy. And then if you see right down in there, that is your throttle valve. That must be unplugged. So I'm going to use some flathead screwdrivers to get that one unplugged. So I'm using a pick just to try to push this locking tab back like that, because they have that stupid locking tab. And then I'm gonna use this pick to press the release tab and then use a screwdriver right here to kind of pry it off. And that's how I pop them off. Can be a little bit of a struggle, but I did release it. So now I'm just popping it off. And I'm gonna stick my hand in there and just kind of pull that wire back over here, that sensor, and then just zip tie it out of the way so it doesn't get caught in the fan. Okay, so this throttle valve is unplugged, and then the two EGR connectors are unplugged. So you have to do that no matter what. Technically, you don't have to remove the actual EGR out of the truck if you don't want to. You could just remove the DPF and replace that with a new exhaust and leave this on the truck, but you must unplug it and you must unplug the throttle valve. The tune will deactivate the EGR. In my opinion, it's always better to physically remove it just because it opens up the engine, gives you more room, and then most importantly, it guarantees that no exhaust can re-enter your intake. Or maybe you don't have time to do the full delete right now, then you can just tune it, remove the exhaust, which we're gonna do next, and then leave the EGR on, and then at a later date, you can come back and remove the EGR. But anyways, we're just gonna make sure that tune worked. So with those sensors unplugged, we should be able to start this truck and we shouldn't get any codes. So far, so good. Make sure the throttle works. Sounds good. Shut it off. And I like to just do it one more key cycle just to make sure. Let it run for about a minute. If it's all good, then you know the tune worked fine. Now, as you can see, we have no engine lights, so we're good to go. And this auto agent, you don't have to leave it plugged in. You can unplug it, that's no problem at all. Once the ECM and TCM, if you did that, are tuned, they will stay tuned. You don't need to leave that thing plugged in. So now we're gonna move on to the exhaust. Hopefully this lift is long enough to fit this. Like, this is a long truck, so I'm gonna try to put on the lift. I do have a dyno right there, so I can't overhang off the end of the lift. So this is gonna be a test to see if it actually fits. If you don't have a lift, then what I recommend is you get a couple heavy duty ramps and you put them underneath the passenger side tires. So you kind of drive the truck up on an angle like that, so that the passenger side is higher off the ground, because that's where the exhaust is we're gonna be working on. This actually sucks, because I am like an inch away from the dyno right there. And if we look back here, oh, I don't know. Like, oh no, that's too sketchy for me. I'm gonna say this will not fit on my lift with the dyno there. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave it on the lift, and then, cause it is a little higher off the ground, I wouldn't wanna lift it like that because I wouldn't want this to like slide back and then fall off the lift. That would be awful. But I'll leave it on these ramps or these runways, and then I'll go underneath it and we'll show you what to do. So first thing I want to do is just get this exhaust out so we can see what we're working with. We don't want to take too much exhaust out, because as you can see, this is going to go to your downpipe. There's some new bolts for it. And then that slides onto there. And then this 3-bolt flange will connect to the 3-bolt flange that's on the truck. It's actually nice they give you a new gasket. I've never seen that before, so that's a big plus. And it even gives you new bolts for this 3-bolt flange. All right, we are under the truck. So basically, the name of the game is to unplug everything from the factory exhaust and remove it. It's pretty simple. It's not rocket science, but I will show you a few things. So up here, this is the front of the truck. This is where we're gonna unbolt the exhaust from the downpipe. These nuts are welded on, so you can't spin those. You have to spin the bolts out this way. I recommend getting some kind of lubricant and just spraying them on both of the threads. Then if we go all the way down, so this is all one big piece, that's what we're gonna remove. And here's the 3-bolt flange where we're going to bolt up to. I would also recommend just spraying these so hopefully it comes apart a little nicer. If these snap, it's not a huge deal because the kit does come with new bolts. So now you're just gonna start from one side, so this is the back, and you're gonna look at all the sensors. It doesn't look like there's any sensors back this way. They all start here. So as you can see, that sensor goes up there. This big one, just follow it down. And as you can see, it plugs into this guy up here. So this side actually doesn't unplug. You're gonna unplug the other side from it, and then you're just gonna pry this box off the truck with a upholstery tool or something, a little pry tool. This one also has to come off. It's another sensor. Again, this side doesn't unplug. You push that little gray tab back and then you can unplug it from that side and then pop this whole sensor or module right off the frame. Then just keep going down the truck. See, here's another wire. We're gonna unplug that guy. We got these cables and these 3. Where do those go? Let's look. All right, one is the electronics for your DEF injector. You're gonna unplug that. Then what I would do is I would kind of cut this heat shield back from your actual DEF injector line. And then there should just be 2 tabs. They're in the yellow there. Just pinch them and pop this sensor off. This wire here, you're gonna follow it. And it looks like it goes to the outside of the frame rail. Yeah, it does. It goes right here. So this is on the outside of the frame rail. Again, this doesn't unplug. You have to unplug it from this side and then just pop this whole module right off the frame. If we keep moving forward, I see another connector right there. There's also one up here that you must disconnect. And then looks like there's one more here. Follow this line over top of the frame rail. There's another connector right there. And I think that is it. This electrical connector on the DEF injector is kind of a pain in the butt. There's a red locking tab. I'm using a mirror right now to see the backside of it. But basically you have to like pop this locking tab up from the bottom of the connector and then you can unplug it. If you want to make it easier, you could try to just unbolt this DEF injector and remove it, and then you'd have more manipulability to get to the other side. All right, we got everything unplugged. Hopefully it went all right for you. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the front here and we're gonna take these 2 bolts out. I usually use like a swivel socket and impact, and then I rip them out. And then we're gonna go down here, and on the back side here, you're gonna remove those 3 nuts. And then this thing still might be tight in place. So sometimes what happens is back up here, this almost rusts together. So once you have it unbolted, just grab a hammer and just kind of beat it right here with a hammer, and then it'll break free from right here. Okay, the bolts are out. This thing, like I said, is still kind of stuck to the downpipe. I haven't hit it with a hammer yet. And this is a little bit loose, so that's good. What I want to do is go back to these exhaust hangers. I want to spray them with a lubricant as well. There'll be another exhaust hanger like back there on the other side of the axle, and just get them nice and lubed up. And then grab a pry bar of sorts and just kind of go like this and just pry this back as far as you can, just to give us as much room as possible. As you see, we got a little bit of room there, but that might be all we're gonna get. Now if I go here, and then like I said, just hit with a hammer. There we go. See, now it's freed up there, so we're all separated, disconnected. Now again, what you're gonna do is grab more lubricant and spray it on these exhaust hangers. There's a couple there, a couple there. And then also see this exhaust hanger right there? The easiest way to get that one out is literally just take those 2 bolts or the 2 nuts off the right side of it, and then that rubber hanger will just come off with the DPF. I got the Sawzall out. I'm just gonna cut these bolts and then hopefully we can remove the DPF afterwards. That worked perfectly. So now we can actually kind of split these, and now I can pop this DPF out and remove it from the truck. Okay, this is so stupid. As you can see, these hangers can't actually, like you can't pop them out, can't move this back anymore, and you can't pop these off forward because they hit this cross member. So I think what I'm gonna do is, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, those 4 bolts. If you take them out, then this whole entire bracket where those hangers are will be loose. And might even have to do it with this one too. I don't know. I'm gonna try to pry those hangers off as well, but this is just absolutely stupid, but that's what I'm gonna do. Oh yeah, she is on the ground, still kind of resting up here. It's gonna slide out the rest of the way and it's out. And here it is. Look at how big that thing is. It is absolutely massive. As you can see, I did take this hanger bracket off. It worked great. This one I was able to leave on and pry the hangers off of here. I did take them off the exhaust though, because we're gonna reuse them. So now if you got that plug kit, you can cap off all these open connectors, then just zip tie all of these connectors and wires out of the way so that they're not gonna hit anything, they're not gonna hit the exhaust. Once everything is nice and zip tied, we're gonna grab this pipe and we're gonna just get it started in the downpipe with the nut and bolt, but we're not gonna tighten it right now. Okay, I have it in here loose. I just put the bolt through here, and then I put the flat washer, and then the lock washer, and then the nut. It's just hanging here. As you can see, that's where we're gonna have to put some exhaust hangers, but we can add those in after. I want this to be hanging low right now so we can slide this second piece on while it's down here. All right, so I have the second piece slid on right now, and I pulled this guy back. But when I lift it up, see there's still a gap there. So we need to fix that. And that's just a thing with these cabin chassis. They're not all the same. Sometimes you might have to add a piece. This exhaust kit actually came with another chunk of pipe, and I'm guessing this is exactly what it's for. So here's the extra chunk it came with. So obviously we still need the flange to bolt up with that flange. So we're gonna have to slide this guy off. We're gonna put this new pipe on here, but we're gonna have to shorten it up too because it's gonna be way too long. So I measured the gap from here to here and it's 5 inches. Yours might be different. So I got this extension piece. I slid it on all the way till it bottomed out right here. I measured 5 inches from here because we need it to be 5 inches longer. And this is where I'm gonna cut it. And there it is. It seems silly because it's so small now. But now I should be able to slide that on and hopefully everything lines up good. Now look at that. That is lovely. Now I put one of these exhaust hangers on here. I'm gonna lift it up and then slide the exhaust hanger back on. I don't think there's really room to have both exhaust hangers here because these hangers are so close together, but honestly, one exhaust hanger will be more than enough. This hardly weighs anything compared to what was in there. It wasn't sitting very nice with just one hanger, so what I did is I actually used a pry bar and just kind of pried it out that way a little bit, and then the same on the other side, and I just spread these exhaust hangers out just a little bit, so both of these rubber hangers would fit next to each other. And now everything is looking really good. So this is still loose, but we'll tighten this at the very end. But looking down here, everything looks good. I'm gonna grab a new gasket, my new bolts and nuts, and I'm gonna bolt this together. And then we'll go to the front and we'll tighten that. Then we'll put the clamps on. Okay, this is all tight. Then right here, this clamp came with the kit, so I put it on around there. It worked great. This clamp I already had at the shop, so this is the clamp I used for this guy right here. And that's just a little section of pipe we had to add in. We got our hangers there, everything's looking good. And then I tightened these guys up here. So this is solid, really solid. Like if I kick it, like it's not moving at all. So now what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna start the truck and then come back underneath here and just check your work, check for exhaust leaks. And as long as that's all good, you're good to clean up and you are done the exhaust. And here's what she sounds like. Nice, free-flowing exhaust. If you do want it a little bit quieter, the Diesel Dudes also sells a little 4-inch resonator. So you could just cut out a chunk of pipe, put the resonator in and clamp it up. But go drive it for a bit. If you think it's too loud, get one. But honestly, these trucks aren't very loud. All right, so the exhaust is all done. Wasn't too bad. Now we're gonna tackle the EGR. So like I said, as long as you have your EGR unplugged and your throttle valve unplugged, you're good to drive the truck right now. You don't have to do this. This is just if you wanna go the extra mile and like fully delete your truck, you gotta remove the EGR. So this is a good time to say that these videos are totally free to watch and I love that you guys watch them. But if you wanna show a little extra support, I am selling merch at darkirondiesel.com. I got hats, hoodies, t-shirts, that kind of stuff, even cropped hoodies for your girlfriends. And I think it's pretty good quality. I wear my merch all the time myself. I really like it. So if you do wanna show a little extra support, go to darkirondiesel.com, check out some merch. Anyways, thanks guys. Let's get back to this truck. Because the first thing I like to do is drive it up on some ramps to give us more room to put some pails underneath to drain the coolant. There's actually 2 coolant reservoirs on this truck, so you got a drain plug on the passenger side and one on the driver's side. So the one on the driver's side is easy to access. It's right there. And these are only like a 1/4 turn drain plugs, or I guess 1/2 turn. You kind of just spin it a 1/4 turn and then the second 1/4 turn, pull it out as you spin it, and that's all you do. You don't just unthread them. Then this other one on the passenger side is right there, and it's actually facing the bumper, so it's kind of a little bit of a pain in the butt. I usually use some pliers to unscrew it. And if you're reusing the coolant, make sure you get some really clean pails to drain it into. To make it drain faster, remove these this rad cap and this one right here. And we're draining. Now you're gonna remove this air intake pipe. Now you wanna grab a little flathead screwdriver or maybe some side cutters, and you wanna get rid of this clamp right there and that clamp right there. These ones you can leave on because we're gonna actually get rid of this hose all the way from there to there. We're gonna connect this guy to that T-fitting. Make sure nothing falls in this intake. If you want, just put a rag in there, just something to keep stuff from falling in. Grab a hose clamp from the kit, or if you got one laying around the shop, and that's what we're gonna use there. And that's what it should look like. This guy right here, I'm gonna use some pliers and I'm just gonna rip this hose right out of the truck. Now this new hose that we just got together, I'm actually gonna take this hose clamp off right here, pop out this little Christmas tree, and then I'm just gonna fold this off to the side just to get it out of our way. Don't bend this because this is plastic and you will break it. But there we have this. I just tucked it out of the way for now. Now this is the scary part of doing an EGR delete on a 6.7 Powerstroke. We wanna take this pipe and that pipe out, and they usually come out pretty good except for down there. There's that one 8mm, and then there's also another one right there. They tend to break. So as you can see, I soaked mine down in a penetrating fluid. I'm not really sure how much it actually did because, you know, they screw into the bottom. So where the threads are, I don't think any penetrant actually made it. But yeah, that's the goal. Get these two pipes out. You'll have to undo that bracket right there. If these break, it's fine. If these break, it's fine. You don't want these ones to break, but they very rarely do. And you don't want those ones to break, and they might break. If they do break, you're gonna have to remove this intake off and drill them out. In 2020, they actually switched and got rid of those 8mm head bolts and switched to 10mm heads, so they're way thicker and way better. But 2011 to 2019 are still the skinny bolts. I'm just gonna hit them with this impact on a low setting and hope to God they come out. Oh, I'm so happy. I got this pipe out. Both of these ones actually broke, which doesn't matter at all because we're not using this anymore. But the ones down there actually came out pretty good. And if I look at them, see how they're actually kind of damp? Like they have penetrating fluid on them. So that means when yesterday I sprayed a crap ton of penetrant down in there, and it must have actually made it to the threads, and that's why they came out. So I would recommend soaking them down with, you know, WD-40 or Seafoam or something like that a day in advance, and then it might make your life a lot easier. But like I said, if you do break them, it's not the end of the world. You can unbolt this intake, this black plastic piece, and you can remove it out of the truck, and then you can go straight down onto those studs and you can drill them out with a drill or whatever you need to do. And as you can see, we got this other one out. You'll have to unplug it. So now go to your kit, grab this black blocker plate, and then I think we can use 2 of these Allen hex bolts. And we're gonna block off this one right here. Just wipe that off with a rag. Make sure you have the O-rings seated good in here, and then yeah, you can bolt this on there. Just a good snug is all you need. You don't need to over tighten that. Now what we want to do is go back to this pipe we took out, and we want to remove this sensor, and we want to thread it into this new blocker plate. Mine's being stubborn, so I'm trying to persuade it with some heat. Success. Never mind, I lied. This actually broke, and some of it's still in there, so I can't pull this sensor out. I tried to pull a sensor off the old exhaust because I thought maybe that would work, and they're just breaking as well. So that's sick. But technically, I don't think you actually need a sensor here. If you can get this sensor out, then take it out, put it in here, and then you'll actually plug this sensor back in where it used to be plugged in. But what I'm gonna do for right now, I'm gonna put this bolt in here, and I'm just gonna weld this bolt in so that this is sealed. And if for some reason that doesn't work, I'll have to order a new blocker plate and a new sensor for this guy. But I don't think you need to run a sensor in here. I think the only reason why you'd want to run a sensor is because you can actually use the Easy Link on your phone, and you can read and see your exhaust gas temperatures from this sensor. But I don't think it's gonna make any difference if I don't put the sensor in. So for this purpose, because I need this truck done now, I'm gonna weld this bolt in here, and if I have any problems, I will let you know at the end of the video, or I will put it down in the comments. So if you can, switch the sensor. If you can't, I don't think it matters. Plug this off, let's put it on. Not too bad for a guy that doesn't know how to weld, and a welder purchased off Amazon for 200 bucks. Ideally, in this case, I'd have a plug that I could just plug it off with, but I couldn't find anything in my shop that would fit the right thread. So weld it is. Okay, now grab this blocker plate. We're We're gonna put it down there and make sure you still have this factory gasket in there. Just clean everything up nice. I believe you're supposed to use the factory hardware for it, but the only problem I'm seeing is if I stick this bolt through it, see how the threads actually end a little bit before they make it to the blocker plate? So I actually just grabbed a washer just so that it spaces it out a little bit more. And now if you look at it, we're not running out of threads. Here's another little trick that might not be by the book, but if it works, it's not stupid. So the bolt on the left, it went in no problem. But see the bolt on the right? I stacked a bunch of washers on it. Because what kept happening is as I threaded it in, I was able to get it about halfway down and then it would just get super tight. And I don't have that tap here. I can't find it. If I had the proper tap, I would re-tap the threads on that hole and then I probably wouldn't have an issue. But I don't have that tap here. It's 6 o'clock at night. I can't go to the store and buy one right now. So what I did is I just stacked a bunch of washers on it so that it tightens up in the good threads. I'm sure someone will have something bad to say in the comments about that, but hey, it's on there. All right, thank the Lord, that ordeal is all done with. The blocker plates are on, so that's good. So what I did, the coolant was finished draining, so I went underneath and I actually tightened both drain plugs again. And then I just rolled this truck off of my ramps just so that now it's a little bit lower and easier for me to work on. So now we're gonna work on actually getting this EGR cooler off. So if you haven't already, I haven't yet, I'm gonna disconnect my 2 negative battery cables. And then I'm going to start undoing everything off this EGR cooler. There's this hose right here, this coolant hose. I'm gonna pinch both of these tabs on the side and then I should pop it off. This electrical down here, it's kind of clipped in here. You just have to use a pry tool just to pop it up. If you look up here, this bracket, there's a bolt there and a bolt there on this black plastic bracket. We gotta remove those. This vacuum line, you're going to just kind of pop it off of there. I'll use 2 hands, but get it off and free. Try to get all this electrical up out of the way so it's a little looser. And then the EGR cooler itself has 7 bolts. So it's got 1 back there, 2 right there, and then the 3rd one's right there. This is the 4th one right here, it's in the middle. And it's got 1 that kind of goes right here. It's actually this one that holds the bracket down. Then there's another one right back here on the other side of this coolant pipe. And then there's that one at the back where that little bracket for this sensor is actually attached to. So you have to pull that nut off and then bend that bracket off, and then you can unscrew the actual bolt that holds the EGR cooler down. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get all that stuff off and nice and loose. And if I run into any problems along the way, I'll make sure to record it for you guys. So the far back EGR cooler bolt right there. As you can see, I got a socket, a swivel, and an extension on it. Just a 1/4 inch drive. That's how I'm getting that one out. These guys will be easy, that guy's easy, this guy's easy, that guy's easy. And then that back one there, as you can see, I have it removed already. So what I did was I used a 1/4 inch, a little ratchet. I took that nut off and then I used a pry bar to pry that bracket off of it. And then it's a 12mm socket and I used another ratchet with a flex head, and that's how I got that one out. So the back ones are a little bit tricky, but altogether it's not that bad. Okay, so why 2 of them are 12mm? I believe it's this middle one and then the back one on this side are 12mm and the rest are 8. I don't know, just to keep things interesting, I guess. But once you have those 7, there's 7 bolts, you have these all removed, you can kind of grab this and give it a good pull and it should come free. It's still kind of stuck. There we go. See, there's that little dowel right there that they get stuck on. But yeah, as you can see, we're all free. So I'm gonna try to pull it out and just kind of try to hold these wires out of the way and just slide it up and out this way. Voila! Here it is. Of course, it's gonna leak a bunch of coolant. I guess I could have tried to drain that better. But I actually didn't have to pull anything else off. It was really tight getting past right here. It was really tight getting past here. Once it cleared that, it came out really easily. So just kind of have a look at your fuel injector lines, return lines, make sure nothing got damaged, which I don't think anything should have. Yeah, that was actually pretty easy to take out. And here now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are the bolts. And then of course you have the 2 here that held that electrical cable in. Now you can take this fancy dancy blocker plate and these new hex bolts. We're gonna put it right here. Make sure this is nice and clean and these O-rings are still intact. And then, yeah, it matters which way it goes, just so you know, because the bolt hole is offset right here. So just find the way where all the bolt holes line up and put that blocker plate on. All right, blocker plate's on. Again, just a good snug. Don't over tighten it. And then just put this hose back on. We're gonna zip tie all these connectors out of the way. If you got the plug kit, you can cap these connectors off. With this vacuum line, I'm just going to bend it kind of like this and pinch it off, and then I'm going to zip tie it together. There, everything is all nice and zip tied. I kind of just zip tied it up to this electrical wiring that was already there. As you can see, this I just kinked this vacuum line and zip tied it together. I put this hose back on. I think that's pretty much it, honestly. Like, once you get the EGR cooler out, you're basically done this delete. So I would just take a look in here, make sure you didn't drop anything down at the turbo. And then we're going to put this air intake elbow back on, reconnect your negatives of your battery, and then you can fill both of the coolants. Then you're gonna have to run it for a while. You're gonna have to get it up to temperature, and you're probably gonna have to top them up a couple times just until everything's back full, getting all the air out of the system. If you were able to transfer your sensor into this blocker plate, then this is the cable that you would plug it into. But yeah, I'm gonna put this plastic air pipe back in, and then put the coolant in. Again, make sure that if you haven't already, that you tightened up your drain plugs. And yeah, we'll do that and we'll see if that was everything. This is extra stuff we didn't use. Like, we don't need this hose for nothing. I think this is a little bracket for that sensor at the back right side of the EGR cooler, but I don't put it back on. All right, we got everything back together. Coolant is topped up for now. It's gonna go down, like I said, when we run the truck. So I always grab the fan and I just spin the fan blades by hand a couple times just to make sure that we don't have any tools stuck in there. It's just something I've always done. But yeah, batteries are hooked up. This air intake's all nice and tight. Our coolant lines are all together. Like, there's really only put this one back on and then put this one on that coolant line. So really that's it. So yeah, I'm gonna leave these open. I'm not gonna put the rad caps on yet, but let's see if she fires up. Oh yeah, buddy. Sounds pretty happy. We don't got any leaks yet. Or I'm just test driving it, and honestly, I'm not getting any issues at all with not having that sensor plugged in at that blocker plate. So I don't think that matters. But yeah, I'm gonna let this thing warm up outside for a bit. I'm gonna take it for a drive. I'm gonna double check the coolant levels a few times, top them up if I have to, which I'm sure I will. I'm gonna triple check everything on my work, make sure we don't have any leaks. But honestly guys, these EGR deletes are pretty freaking simple as long as you don't break any bolts. We had a couple little hiccups there with the blocker plate and the sensor and stuff, but whatever. It wasn't anything that we couldn't overcome. If you guys do have any questions, look me up on Instagram at Dark Iron Diesel. Shoot me a message there. I try to reply to everyone at least once a day. And again, the link is in the description for this kit if you would like this for yourself. They also make them for all other, makes and models of trucks. You don't have to be just a Ford cab and chassis. You can get it for, an F550 if you'd like. Yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the video. So thanks once again for watching, and I hope to see you on another one soon.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what